opposing the government and opposing the Conservatives. I'm afraid it's the hard left who want to tighten their control. They want to sideline moderate voices. I don't think anybody should be surprised about that is the nature of the hard left. And of course we know that the hard left famously cannot tolerate any dissent. Well, we know who the hard left, who associate with the hard left. You just said that we were too right wing. The hard left agenda, printing money, nationalisation without compensation, hard left wing position. Hard left, the 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 hard left, hard left, hard left, the hard left, the hard left, hard left, the hard left, hard left, hard left, hard left, hard left, hard left, the hard left, the hard left, left, the hard left, the hard left, left, hard left, hard left, the hard left, the hard left, left, the hard left, left, the hard left.
They don't dig my philosophy. It's just plain jealousy. Is it because I'm good at my job? I don't go with the mob. I don't do what they want me to do. I made it in spite of you. You don't have a clue.
Our action state for everyone other than us. Yes, yeah. Very cathartic, yeah. So, reaction now.
I'm recording. Yeah, it's been a huge day today, you know.
Yep.
Of course, I'm talking about the release of Van Morrison's latest record project.
Yeah, the wait's finally over. Yeah.
At long last, we get to hear cast iron classics such as They Own the Media and Why Are You on Facebook? Which, I'm not gonna lie, are actually two of the better songs on the album. Like, there's I know you said I might get us cancelled for this, but look, the song, it could be just about, like, the establishment or whatever. Yes, it's conspiratorial. Never. You know what? Why am I defending Van? It is a fucking ridiculous album, and there is a song, like, I'm not gonna bother defending They Own the Media, even though it could just be about, like, Rupert Murdoch, because there's a song called Western Man that is just, like, fucking fascist gibberish about how, like, the Western man has lost his way because he's let these unspecified foreigners of some kind usurp his position on the top of the pile. It is really bad.
Nice. I've heard it's a very divorced album as well.
Yeah, I wasn't so sure about that because he got divorced, as far as I know, quite a few years ago, and he's made like 8 albums since then. So I think like he's got the majority of his like divorce-inspired music out of his system. I think he's maybe looking, obviously not really looking out at the wider world, but he's always looking into Van Morrison, but he's looking a bit more out into the wider world at kind of, you know, what's going on, the current situation, various just kind of vaguely alluded to unspecified conspiracies going on. Hang on, I sent a lyric to FFF that is just like what does this fucking idiot say? Not FFF, Van. Yeah, on the second song, he's just like, I'm a targeted individual. Got it. Oh no, alright, so I can sing because it's just like generic blues. Just like you hit blues on the Casio keyboard presets. He's like, I'm a targeted individual. Gotta get to the bottom of who's pulling the strings. It's just like,
Very normal.
A puppet master, if you will. Yeah, it's a ridiculous album. Obviously, there's 28 tracks, and I've only had the chance to listen to it once. And also, there was an album by Ice Age that came out today, which is actually really good rock music. I recommend check that out. And also, there is a posthumous MF Doom album in collaboration with Inspector Deck's current group, Czarface. Russia. So that was anyway, so I haven't had the chance to listen to that yet, but obviously you know, I'm a big fan of the late great MF Doom, so I look forward to listening to that. In other news, thank you, that was RP Record Corner. Those are the new releases for the day, the ones that matter. at least. Mainly Van Morrison, obviously that matters the most. But also, Mike Gapes has appeared on some Melt podcast. FFF made me aware of this.
Did you get the chance to listen to it yet?
I did, yeah. I listened to it when I was like, yeah, I've just been like watching the results roll in today, you know, just chilling. I'm like 3 zoots down. Like, I was just listening to this when I was out for a little walk. And it was, I don't know, it wasn't as funny as FFF made it out to be. He was mostly talking about his health problems because he went
very FFF.
He went on like that CIA tour of the Middle East in 2015, and as detailed in my cookbook, and then came back and went to a Jules Holland concert because Gapes loves the boogie woogie stylings of Jules Holland, and
they've both got no neck. That's the common factor. That's why he identifies with him so much.
Yeah, and he had a big heart attack, and mainly it's just like he talks about the doctor was just like, only a certain amount of people make it as far as you have, Mike, and he's just like he's like, you're very strong, Mike, and Mike's like, I'm not strong, and he's like, yes you are, Mike, you're the strongest man in the world. Yeah. So yeah, that like seemed to take up most of the interview. Like, it just took so long for him to just recount the story of his heart attack. But
I hear he partially blames the trolls and haters for it.
Yeah, he does. He digs out the I had been fighting battles on Twitter line. But mostly, yeah, it was quite a brief interview. Like, it was like 20 minutes, and like 17 of those were him, like, just talking about, then I went to the doctors, and it was like an episode of Casualty, and, look.
But I can get over it. He has, at least as a supporting factor in it, like, his heart problem, and his... he was in a coma, I understand, and he's like, this was partially because of the battles I was having with trolls online. And then he's come out, he's recovered, and very shortly afterwards, for the next 4 years, something like that, he just plunges straight back into it. If anything, getting more aggro with the trolls online.
He says he's learned.
He was doing it even like during his campaign as an independent. He was he was proper like, trot off, you bastard, every day to people. He's like,
he's learned.
If you got a death wish, or you wanted to become like a martyr for centrism,
he is
it's
a
a
Charles
shame in a way.
Bronson kind of character. Yeah, I agree. I think like he says he's learned that life is short and every day is a bonus, and if he wanted to change politics, then he wanted to do as much as he could in his time left on this earth. And
what an impact he's had.
He's had a big impact on us, man. You can't deny that. So I guess that's some news for today. Van Morrison, Mike Gapes. Now
that's the main things that have happened. Yeah,
the main shit. Now let's dedicate about a minute before we sign off to talking about these election results. We might go for quite a bit, because if we go, like, FFF's watching the Damned United, but he might join us if we go on long enough. So
okay, yeah, I'm glad he's watching that, because like a sort of David Peace inspired Capecast would be pretty good, I think.
Gapes in the world of football hooliganism.
Yes, Gapes running with the notorious West Ham firms of the 70s and 80s. That actually, that genuinely would be incredible. They were mostly bald as well. Wow, fuck, that's a great idea.
Speaking of bald, in the wake of a little set of election results today, Lord Andrew Adonis. He's a very important person, so you got to listen to his opinion on this one. He has demanded Starmer's resignation, just as in fact he did Jeremy Corbyn's resignation immediately after the 2017 election. So he's got previous, but I think it's fair to say that these results, Starmer has bucked expectations in rather a different way to how Jeremy Corbyn did in 2017.
For context here, at the time we're recording this, it's Friday night, so there's a lot of the local results are out, about half of them in England, about 2/3 of the Welsh results, and about 2/3 of the constituency results in the Scottish Parliament elections. We've still got a lot of results to come. We've still got the London Mayor result to be announced. We've still got all the list seats up in Scotland to be announced. So it could very well get even worse from everything we're about to talk about.
I thought you were going to say so that Labour could still pull it back from a brink.
They could still turn it. Yes. Hello. I'm the Dark Prince. My name's Benjamin. Welcome to Real Politics. This is now a fully unbridled melt podcast.
Yeah, the Dark. Oh shit! Who is it that the Dark Prince reminds me? He looks like. Is it Ron Ashton from the Stooges? I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Probably not so much now, but
it's just yeah. Well, it's the hair, I think. But obviously I'm one to talk about that. But you know, today has been quite a day. I've been kind of just soaking it up. Like I say, I've been not celebrating these not good results.
Yeah, terrible shame for Labour, and there's no joy to be taken from this, and no gloating, nothing like that. There's just nothing funny about it at all, and if you've laughed at any of the results, any of the humiliation of these sad bastard Labour right councillors getting humiliated one by one, you were wrong, and you shouldn't do it.
Oh man, I thought Rebecca Long Bailey was tweeting something from Ilford Labour, but obviously it's Salford. I'm being a dumbass.
Yeah, the Ilford extended universe has taken over your mind. You're seeing it when it's not there.
Oh right, so Labour actually did quite well in Salford. Isn't it a quite left-wing Labour council in Salford?
I suppose in relative terms, yeah. It's not like a Preston situation or anything like that, but yeah. I mean, generally when the area is either more left wing in how it's run, or if it's got like a more left wing figurehead, these are the places that actually seem to be holding up all right. In general, literally after about 20 hours of solid melting down from the Dark Prince who we mentioned before, he then sent out a tweet like half hour ago or so, or an hour ago or so now, that just read simply like, "Hey, what is the Preston model?"
Oh man, like, yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. I'm pretty tired as well, but pretty tired because just been partying on down.
Yep.
So Simon Hedges is rebranded as ordinary voter.
Yes,
with
brilliant
a
work.
fake beard.
He's jumping in all the I'm just an ordinary voter, and I think Labour should go further right and give Starmer more time and all that.
Yeah. He says, "I'm just a ordinary regular voter and I give Keir Starmer my full support. You're doing a great job." And he says that in response to polling for Channel News by JL Partners polls, who
always
I've
been a big fan of them.
Always had a lot of time for the JL Partners polls, boys.
Yeah, they're this year's, curiously.
They say that the top reason given for not voting Labour in elections in England yesterday was Sir Keir Starmer's leadership.
Yes, yeah. And is that the one where they published some excerpts of like what voters had to say about him as well?
Yeah.
Oh my God! There's as well as literally about 3/4 of them spelling his name Kier.
Yeah.
One of them's like Keir Starmer. I don't like Keir Starmer. He's terrible.
Yeah, they spell like Keir Starmer and Corbyn like 500 different ways in the course of these little things. But I mean, Corbyn's name doesn't come up that much. It comes.
No, there's one or two of them saying like I didn't like Corbyn either or something like that.
Yeah, but all of them are saying that they don't like Starmer.
None of them like Starmer. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the polls. Concerns about Starmer focus on him being weak, opportunistic, not standing for anything, and generally being a. No, it actually says. Well, no, that was it. It just ended on not
Yeah, that
standing
is
for
that's
anything,
basically it.
which sounds pretty much right. I mean, let's have a look at them. Poor leadership and haven't been very vocal for the last year. Very uninspiring new leader. What is the Labour Party at the moment? Keir Starmer, a rich lawyer, plus people I know nothing about. Sorry, Annalise and Nick Thomas Simmons. Keir Starmer is a dead loss, no get up and go, morbid and depressing. Labour MPs are the same, a totally depressing, morbid bunch in a depressing Labour Party.
He's right.
Yes. Yeah, there's one. I mean, some of them are criticizing him for criticizing the government too much. So I mean, I'll put some of them aside, even though that one does misspell his name as Keir with an I first. Sorry, spell it correctly. Keir, spelled with an I before the E, is not likable or trustworthy. That's one. They don't fight for the normal person, and I don't like Keir Starmer. one. Keir is a puppet. Van Morrison wrote this one. Has no Labour values and has not contested for the people. I think, yeah, okay, I get that. Someone's complaining that they had high hopes for Keir because he wasn't Corbyn, but there's too many Reds still under the beds. So this is somebody with a kind of Blairite position, which I think we'll get into. There's an interesting thread on that about what he needs to do next. Then there's can't stand Keir Starmer. He's not good for the party. They need a new leader that got the country at heart. One that simply says poor leader. One that says poor policies, and a soft leader in Starmer. The leader has no charisma and no policies. Can't stand Keir Starmer and his tactics to try and bring Boris down as opposed to looking into policies. So that's one of the ones who's unhappy with him for criticising the government too much. And then there's one that says, my opinion of the Labour Party has gone down since Corbyn and Abbott. They were both incompetent, and I feel that Keir has focused too much on Boris's wallpaper instead of more important issues. Well, that last bit is fair enough, but yeah, I obviously don't agree with their assessment of Abbott and Corbyn. But
Corbyn must resign.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's just a sample of some of these takes from ordinary people, or perhaps not ordinary people, because we've seen what the ordinary person is saying, the ordinary man on the street.
The man on the street, yeah. The perfectly normal man.
Only 1% of voters in the local elections for Labour said that they voted because they like Keir Starmer. Now, a lot of people dislike Jeremy Corbyn, I won't deny that, but at the same time, a lot of people really liked him and were drawn to the party because of him. Now, that, as we will get into, is the problem in the eyes of a lot of his critics, but nonetheless, you can't deny that as well as Corbyn repelling certain people, he certainly attracted many.
Yeah.
Which, Starmer's animal magnetism doesn't quite seem to be doing.
Surprising, though, isn't it? Yeah, but we're obviously going to hear a lot, as usual, about the character of Starmer and is he inspiring and blah, blah, what does he need to do and so on. But the fact is, like, the thing with Corbyn is, like, as you say, he was quite divisive. Some people really liked him, some people absolutely despised him. But he got a bunch of policies on the table that wouldn't plausibly have happened against any of the people that ran against him in 2015 or 16. And a lot of those proved popular, even with some people that maybe weren't sold on Corbyn the man. Starmer, by comparison, has basically decided to ditch concrete policies entirely. So even if people had really liked Starmer and responded to him and found him charismatic, are they all going to vote for him? Are they actually going to make the step of like campaigning for him rather than putting the X in the box for him?
Yeah,
Like what's there to get enthusiastic about the Labour Party that put themselves forward yesterday?
Yeah, what a surprise that a lot of the people who really like his policy of being really against the left aren't naturally inclined to vote Labour, and his strategy hasn't done enough to incline them in such a way. Another little bit of polling here. I mean, some people, they replied to me questioning these findings, which I tactically ignored because no, it was all Keith's fault, and I trust the 17-year-old or whatever who has been able to game the Twitter algorithms into becoming one of the biggest accounts in UK politics. So
Mr. Ali.
Politics for All, Comrade Politics for All, tweeted new voting intention among healthcare workers. Conservatives 42% and Labour 32%, and that's via Nursing Notes UK. I've always had a lot of time for the Nursing Notes UK boys.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, that's pretty astonishing. Like that there is any poll that could be produced that shows not just the Labour Party's support being hemorrhaged, but it just switching over to the Conservative Party among healthcare professionals. That's really remarkable because they follow this Politics for All with another tweet saying that in the 2019 general election, again via Nursing Notes UK, Labour won 82% of healthcare workers versus 6% who voted Conservative.
Yeah.
I mean,
one of the craziest turnarounds I've ever seen in a short space of time. In the context as well of what the experience of healthcare workers has been in that couple of years, you know.
I mean, you can't just say it's because the government have had a successful response to the pandemic, because whilst it has been successful in terms of the vaccine program recently, a lot of it, the time before that, it wasn't necessarily
every
so
other
successful.
major part of their response has been as botched can be. They fucked everything up until the vaccination stage.
Yeah, you go.
I don't think that the healthcare community is as consistently instinctively left wing as they're often framed as. Anecdotally, having spoken to some people that work in there, but I think it's fair to say that the decision to we support a pay rise, but actually only 2.5% because that's us being sensible, and it's a little bit more than the Tories offer, so they'll all vote for us anyway.
Incredible.
Has probably cost them tens of thousands of votes, given the size of the NHS as an employer in the UK, and just what an absolute spit in the face it is. They've obviously changed that position recently to we'll start at 2.5% and negotiate upwards. Like, sorry, who are you negotiating with here? In this position, you're in government. Like,
such a joke. Just appeals to that. The whole Starmer thing, just appeals to people who see themselves in a fucking boardroom with big swinging dicks talking it out. Hammering out a deal.
It's a demonstration of workplace power politics for no reason.
Yeah,
people famously love having to fight with their boss for any concession. That's a thing everyone enjoys in every job.
What is it for?
It's literally saying, look, we think you deserve a pay rise of some unspecified amount for more than 2.5, but we're not going to give you it.
Aren't nurses saying they want 12.5 something?
Yeah. But
it's literally
they've obviously got a figure they think they deserve in Starmer's leadership. If they think that's 7% or whatever, why not say 7%? And maybe a lot of them will think, well, that's still a pay rise more than is being offered. We'll start from 2.5%. You've got to beg for anything up from there, which might be 3%, might be 10%. What the fuck, It's
it might offend the current party leadership's numerous friends in the private healthcare sector. About half of Tony Blair's cabinet. Probably some of the people advising Keir right now went on to rake it in big in private healthcare.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not just going to be because so many people are magically Tories now all of a sudden. You know, it's gotta be that, like, people are seriously unhappy with Keir Starmer.
Well, all of a sudden, it's bizarre because it's been the case for over a year, and we're just suddenly seeing it discussed today for the first time. People
Yeah.
they don't know what the Labour Party stand for and don't feel they have any policies.
Yeah.
Who should have seen that come in? You know, they shortly after he won the actual leadership, he started seeming to row back on things like the green policy and things like that. And when challenged, he's like, "We don't feel the need to have a firm policy on it yet. That's something we'll introduce when there's a next general election."
Yeah.
So what? You're going to sit for 4 years with no policy on this big issue, this big issue, this big issue? Like, how is that possibly going to play well with anyone other than like political sketch writers and lobby nerds?
Oh yeah, people you can definitely trust who haven't
Who
spent
is going to
spent the
think?
last 2 days
Yeah.
shitting on you because you're obviously shit. These
Yeah.
people you're like, oh, these just like befriend the face-eating jackals. It's that thing. I think I said this on a previous episode, but like these people don't give a fuck, and he's just catered his entire fucking leadership to like appeasing them. And I think like the question is, are any newspaper columnists going to come out and say Keir Starmer has potentially spent too much time and energy trying to appeal to newspaper columnists? Will any have the courage to do so?
Probably 2/3 of those newspaper columnists, and certainly the organs they write for, that have been pushing this line, Labour should do, that Starmer and his advisors have followed almost to the letter. They don't actually want Labour to fucking win.
No.
They want Labour to tank, and I think some of them probably think their advice is good advice because they're just idiots. But there's absolutely an element of bad faith in it with some of the smarter ones, in that they're setting traps for the Labour Party, and this fucking idiot's blundering into every single one.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously the big news earlier today was that Labour have definitively lost the seat of Hartlepool. I mean,
yeah, and it wasn't even close. Like, I think we all had a sense that was likely to happen. First, when the election was called, and secondly, when they selected Saudi Paul as their candidate. Basically for both the fact that he was a candidate and the way they went about, a long list of one, for fuck's sake,
Yeah.
So I thought at that point they'd lose it, and I think that's been pretty common view on the left, but they got fucking hammered. Their vote, slightly due to reduced turnout and enthusiasm, and slightly due to a big swing.
Yeah,
I think roughly half of what it was in 2019.
The reduced
lost
turnout
half their
is
voters.
Keir's fault. Yeah, we can attribute the reduced turnout to Starmer.
Yeah.
So when people are like,
There's
"Oh,
no
you got to
enthusiasm.
take that into account," I'm like, "Yeah, I do," and it's his fault. It's Keir's. So stop having a go at me. It's all his fault.
Okay. There's talk again, and again this came out the day before the voting day, basically. Actually, there's been a lot of internal unrest, like should they, because obviously Labour as the incumbents had a lot of control over when this by-election happened, and there's a lot within the party feel it was a mistake to call it on the same day as the council elections, basically on the basis that it means when there's other contests going on that people will want to vote for the Tories in, or right-wing parties in, those voters are already out and they're definitely going to be casting their votes against Labour's guy. And it apparently comes down to like just a huge funding crisis and budgetary crisis in the party. They've got no money left, and it's seen as a big strategical error. But then, although that makes sense, like at the same time, you're admitting there that the wiser strategy to use would have been to intentionally set it for a few weeks from now, a few weeks ago, in the hope of a lower turnout. If your strategy to win elections is get more of the hated voters to stay at home, you've also got a fucking intrinsic problem,
Yeah.
If you can't even get people who would vote in a general election steadily, see as a good thing to get them out, how can you possibly be hoping to like win over people who don't vote? get out extra younger voters, which you'd think would naturally advantage the Labour Party, for example, or people who've been previously politically disengaged, getting them to vote against the government. There should be plenty of ways to go about doing that, and they're doing the fucking opposite. They're like, no, it's good that they're disengaged. We only want you know, basically people who fucking read the broadsheets and watch the BBC Parliament channel to come out. They'll obviously place a vote for Keir Starmer's Labour Party because he's so damn forensic.
Yeah.
Fucking what what good do they think is going to come of this? Like any of the choices they could make there, really.
I mean, it's pretty incredible, like, that they just picked this guy, completely imposed him on this seat when he's like, is he from a neighbouring constituency? Is that what he represented up until 2019? But yeah, I mean, they just got this guy for a 70% leave voting seat, who is a hardcore quote-unquote people's vote supporting Remainer, an unreconstructed Blairite parading around his mate Peter fucking Mandelson, some guy who went off on one of those all expenses paid jollies to Saudi Arabia. Was Mike Gapes on the trip? Do you know? Was Gapes there?
I don't know. I don't think it was the same trip, was it?
The one with that funny pic of Gapes of the flat cap on, standing in front of like the oil refinery or some shit. Anyway, yeah, just like a disgusting like Saudi apologist pig, like this appalling guy. They just stuck this guy in the most like underhand, undemocratic fashion in this seat, and were just like, yeah, like it or lump it. And then it turns out that despite having the right politics, in the eyes of the leadership, he is just absolutely useless at communicating with people. Maybe when he was first elected to Parliament in 2019, the Corbyn surge may have played some part in that. Because I don't know if any of you guys have seen Owen Jones's Hartlepool video, but I mean, Paul Williams did not come across as a charismatic, a substantive candidate in the slightest, yeah, like the result was absolutely miserable, wasn't it? Have you got the full result?
Yeah, the Hartlepool one we still on.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second. I'll get the figures up. Yeah, so
this guy's completely inept.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the actual result, right? The Conservative candidate got 15,500 votes, which was just under 52% of the vote, a plus 23 increase on 2019. Labour Pool got 8,589 votes, 28.7%, minus 9%. So it's a 32% swing essentially. It's a 16% swing essentially to the Conservatives, but that's just
Jesus.
It's the biggest government majority ever in the biggest turnaround in a by-election from a government candidate essentially during that country's government, and it's almost twice the previous record. People were calling for Corbyn to resign when he lost his party lost a by-election with 6.5% majority to the new incumbent, whereas this was 23.2%.
I'm sure Keir Starmer will pull it out of the bag like Corbyn did like a month after that by-election. I'm sure he'll do that. He's got it in him. The funniest thing about this by-election is the way that Starmer chose to, he defend it, basically. He packed Jim McMahon out into the media to basically, be the designated sacrificial lamb to take all the shit and repeat the same lines over and over again about how Labour had earned the right to be heard, which they didn't have before. They weren't a legitimate part of a democracy, Times editorial said so. And he was just on there. And, regardless of whatever fucking shite he was saying, like, what was hilarious to me was that they just stuck this guy up whose very presence just reminded you, oh yeah, Labour could win by elections under Jeremy Corbyn. Because I forget which MP was he in Michael Meach's old seat. And then Michael Meacher
Might
died.
have been, yeah.
And then he wasn't. It wasn't Harry Harpham's seat because Harry Harpham's wife, Jill Furness, took over in that one. But I think it was Meacher because there were a couple of MPs.
Yes,
who
it was.
died
It was.
early
Yeah,
on.
it was December 2015, so quite early in Corbyn's era.
Yeah, and so there was obviously the symbolic thing of, they were sending out this guy who had been Corbyn's first major electoral test, just as this had been Starmer's. And the fucking thing is that Corbyn passed it. Jim McMahon was elected. I'm pretty sure. Did at the next election his majority go up? I'm not sure in 2017, but he was elected anyway. And he's just up there. He may even have.
So he increased the vote in the by-election. I'm just trying to find the 2017 result.
I forgot that detail as well. That not only did he win it, but he increased the vote because everyone was like, Labour's going to lose it to UKIP. Whatever, UKIP was still a big deal back then.
Yeah. He then gained another 10% on his vote share. Well, 3% on his vote share, 10% increase in his votes in 2017. And then he lost most of that in 2019, but was still ahead of his 2015 result, which again had been a big increase on the 2010 result. He's still got an extra much higher than 2005, 2010. 2001 there'd been a big dip. They hadn't really done well since 1997.
So he's still an MP, and Paul Williams isn't. And both of them arguably won their seats or increased their vote in the case of Jim McMahon, thanks to Jeremy Corbyn.
I think certainly that 2017 one.
And the 2017 one. But, Paul Williams,
which is the highest that there has ever been in that constituency, because the constituency's only existed since 1997.
You could say, in 2019 Paul Williams lost his seat because of Jeremy Corbyn. However, in 2017 he won his seat because of Jeremy Corbyn, and he spent for 2 years until then, between then, pissing about with second referendum bullshit, which nobody wanted, and maybe he should have supported Jeremy Corbyn and tried to increase his own majority, but that is too difficult. Anyway, now this party's stuck with a loser as their leader. It's very sad, very tragic. I'm not at all happy. I'm not happy. I haven't celebrated anything that's happened today.
No, there's just nothing funny about any of it.
No, it's just it's just sad. Just sad and tragic.
Very, very sad.
So there's been a lot of people saying, figures in the media from the left have been saying, including Diane Abbott and Jeremy Corbyn, Len McCluskey, that Starmer needs to reconsider his his direction that he's going in, his whole strategy, and that's obviously a compelling argument for some of us. But there's this guy, Ed Owen. I've never heard of this guy. He's ex Home Office, HM Courts and Tribunal Service, Foreign Office, and supports Man City. Well, anyway, he's got a very kind of like retired general look, very square face. He's got his jaw gritted, as if he is trying to keep a straight face, but the wind is attacking it in his picture. And this is a thread that was shared by Paul War, not Paul Waff. War as in
what is he good for? Absolutely nothing.
As in the thing that Mike Gapes likes.
Yeah.
And I hit the wrong thing and I lost the thread.
It's going well. Right. While you're getting your train of thought.
He's called Ed something. This guy.
Right.
Ed. Fucking hell. Where's it gone? I hate how you can't search Twitter DMs. Like,
yes, I know. It would be dangerous. It would be absolutely dangerous if you could, man.
You hit Control F and it's just like nothing.
Twitter would just become about 99% this you tweets if you could search DMs, I think.
Well, I'm not saying you should let other people search our DMs.
No. I mean like if you were able to look at like who the group DM was dunking on back in 2018 or something, like it'd basically be a ready-made database of dunking, and that's maybe too powerful for any one person to have.
Okay, well I found it now anyway.
Good.
Paul War said that former New Labour special advisor, this guy, is saying publicly what several moderates in the party have told me privately. So, have you got this one?
Not yet, no.
Ed Owen is his name.
Right, okay.
For fuck's sake. There you go.
Is this Ed Owen with the ridiculous Labour centrist head? Yeah.
Yes, that's what I was. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Starts with long thread alert. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's like when there was that old Eddie Martin tweet that started with hashtag racial stereotypes.
This fucking guy, man. I'm getting a big Nick Clegg vibe off this. I mean, his first tweet: for Keir Starmer to set UK Labour back on a path towards being a party of government again, he must ditch his commitment to unite the party. He must now set on a deliberate and muscular attempt to divide it.
Oh, muscular.
They love the word muscular.
Muscular foreign policy.
Yeah.
Muscular party management. Muscular penises in my mouth.
For 10 years, so we're talking here back to Ed Miliband here. They've remembered he was bad again from the Labour right perspective.
I'd go further back. For me, it's 14 years. 14 years of sorrow. 14 years of pain.
The hated Harold Wilson ruined everything.
14 years that are gone forever and will never have again. Those are Guns N' Roses lyrics. I don't know.
Comrade Axel, right, thanks for that. For 10 years, the Labour Party has allowed, encouraged even, an abundance of malcontents, idealists and refuseniks to inhabit it. Yeah, and what?
Like, these hammer of the left freaks love calling people blank nicks, peace nicks, whatever. Yeah. Is it because it sounds Russian?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Trotnicks.
Yeah, either that or they played too much Sonic the Hedgehog as kids, and they just really don't like Dr. Robotnik.
I get it. Sonic has Nick in it. So membership has soared, but its effect has been to weaken its core democratic purpose, to secure wider support and win power. This is what I was saying, like, when there was any kind of, like, benefit to the Labour Party of, like, having loads of members who could, like, campaign for it and keep it financially sustained, they were like, well, no, that's not a benefit, because Jeremy Corbyn is benefiting from it, actually, so having no members and no money is good.
Yeah. We're going to learn that very quickly, if that's true or not, because it seems like they're financially fucked. They've alienated the the membership, the small donors, this sort of thing. And
I mean, like,
their
to
their pitch to the big donors has got nowhere. So
they would have to become so slavishly pro-capitalist. I can't even comprehend how pro-capitalist that would be for them to make enough money to compensate for not having a steady stream of
they'd have to go beyond Blair
donations
to actually convince people that they were like Blair.
They would have to invite Chris Leslie back into the party. Like, he's like, his like economic policy is like some Ayn Rand shit, you know. He's like as right wing as you can get on the economy. They'd have to get him in.
A lot of Blair's success in getting donors from big business and very wealthy individuals was because the Tories were absolutely fucked and farcically bad at that point. You know? It was so obvious that Labour were going to come to power, barring some huge scandal or fuck up, that they were doing what like rich Americans and American firms do, whereby they donate to both parties or they donate to the Democrats when it's obvious that Democrat candidate's going to win, to have some influence on them, you know, and try and hope it's not too bad for them in big business. That's not the case now. The Tory party is as strong as it's been in decades. So these people are just going to donate to the party that can actually do things in government and have already the mechanisms in place to make life easier for them.
Like, Labour's
a fundamental misunderstanding of like really, really, really the most basic class politics of all.
Starmer's strategy is wild, man, because everyone, like, you know, all these fucking melts took the piss out of Corbyn for, like, trying to get non-voters to vote. But, like, Starmer's whole thing is that he wants to win over so many voters who don't typically vote for the Labour Party, mainly from the Tories, that he can make up for, like, the massive swathe of the left of centre parties of this country's voters who are left wing. Like, he's like,
not even just them, but also like specific sections of their vote in terms of like young people or healthcare workers, you know. They're not all hard left. They're not all Trotskyite Labour members and so on. A lot of them would simply vote Labour or be open to voting Labour because Labour's policies align with their needs a bit better than the Tory ones, and he's happy to ditch them all to get this mythical large block of centre-right voters who wouldn't vote Labour under the quite centre-right in practice Ed Miliband leadership and the very centre-right Gordon Brown leadership. Like, what? Where? How?
It's wild. And that's the thing, like, their politics is always just like, let's move to the right. Then they lose, then their solution is just to move further to the right. It's just a constant thing of fighting an election on the right, and then when it all goes tits up, just thinking, what do we do? Well, we got to be right wing.
Here's the thing. That's basically what Scottish Labour have done for almost 20 years now, with a slight more a stall than a reverse of it during the Leonard years. And what's happened there? You know, the voters will get it eventually. No, they keep not getting it. Labour, it looks like they've pretty much evened out in Scotland, is the early indications from this particular set of elections. But a lot of that, where they're seeing small gains here and there and avoiding big losses, is because there's a lot of tactical voting going on against independents. They're gaining 2%, 4% in this seat and this seat, and it's coming direct from the Tories, you know? And it's just not getting them any seats, so...
Is that why I'm seeing people saying that Labour might pursue a lot more kind of better together politics in Scotland in the future?
Well, how can they embrace it more? That's part of what caused their final wipeout, although the damage was already done. A lot of people talk about that being their only mistake, and you know, all this fucking sort of Miles Pardonator saying like, Labour bravely sacrificed itself in Scotland to preserve the Union, but they were basically fucked anyway. And if they hadn't gone,
he's a different guy to the Dark Prince.
He's like
that's it, man. Show these fucking
Prince.
Children what's
what. He has not repeatedly defended celebrity paedophiles. Neither has he called for genocide against the Russian and Chinese public.
Yeah, the
for being
kids are not
against
all
the
right.
UK's trade interests.
We need a humanitarian intervention against the centrist youth of Great Britain. Yeah. So should we return to, like, obviously we established a lot still needs to be done to win back trust for the Labour Party, but should we return to Ed Owen's prescriptions for it?
Yeah, just very briefly before we do that, just because we've sort of touched on Scotland there, while we've been recording here, some more of the Welsh results have come in, and they're actually not bad for Labour at all. And Mr. Drakeford in particular has actually increased his majority by like 10,000.
Oh.
Now, Welsh Labour are not particularly good. It's kind of a Scottish Labour under Leonard situation where, although they've got a left leader, he's not got enough of a power base around him to make it like a proper left party. But you're seeing suddenly again, it's one of those things that's been the case probably for a while, and you're only allowed to talk about it if you're a journalist. Now the results have actually come out. Sam Coates from Sky, one of their deputy political editor.
Wanker.
The Wales result complicates Keir Starmer's fight back. It makes clear the Labour brand isn't as fundamentally damaged as allies of Keir Starmer have been claiming all day. Other Labour leaders are able to put on votes, apparently in spite of the previous leader.
Oh, I was going to say, my correction. I actually think Sam Coates is a great guy. And then he says, in spite of the previous leader. Fuck off, you prick.
I mean, there's a stupid dig at the end, but before that, it's obviously factual,
Yeah, facts. Facts,
people,
and then just
interpret,
a lie and a smear at the end.
If people interpret Labour as doing well, and I think in this case it's likely to be a vaccine bounce with Welsh Labour being in power there. Again, they're not particularly good, but people will turn out and vote for them,
Yeah.
And it's always the case. They get predicted for huge losses and manage to hold it together at the end. But according to Starmer, well, there was one tweet last night where it was from a Labour source, so I don't know who and to what extent they were taking the piss. But it's like,
was it the one about piss?
It was the one about piss. It was the one about piss. I'm trying to get it exactly here because
the Labour Party is a bath full of piss, and sometimes you've got to drink the piss, and it's good for you to drink piss, and that's Keir Starmer's leadership. It's piss that you drink.
Liz Bates, the political correspondent at Channel 4 News, Labour source: just because we have stopped pissing in the bath doesn't mean people want to jump in with us straight away. We're just sitting here in the piss for a good few years, and eventually that will become fine, and people will realise it's fine and want to join us in a crowded bath full of piss. That's really Starmerism in a. It's probably just a very drunk Neil Coyle or someone.
Drink the piss.
Just like getting confused and sort of not realising whether he wants to text his political insight or his sexual fantasies to the journalists in his phone book.
Yeah, I think that if Keir Starmer loses the next set of whatever kind of elections, that senior Labour source should drink the piss live on television. Should we return to what Ed Owen is saying here?
Probably, yeah.
The relationship between the party membership and wider public is complex. There was a naive view after 2010 that expanding membership was a crucial bridge end to engaging the wider public. But the reverse is true. The party has for many become an escape from the Labour Party is an escape. It's just this chill, carefree zone that
from the tough reality of electoral politics. Yeah, when I get fed up with electoral politics, I go straight on down to the first CLP meeting that's going. Love a bit of that for a laugh.
You don't have constant people just posting, "Oh my God, this party," this wild party that I obviously love and want a job as a special advisor in. What is it like, this crazy party that I spend all my days writing stupid stupid strategic columns. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, of course, the Labour Party's so chill that you never have people performatively expressing exasperation with it, regardless of who the leader is. You know, the Labour Party is fun and good for your mental health. And
the good Labour Party that everyone enjoys, regardless of where they are in the Labour Party. It's just good vibes going along and getting involved.
Yeah, exactly. So you just got like vibes bad. Okay, he's like, I don't like vibes. Vibes are not cool. We need a vibeless politics, because all you guys do is you despise the Tories, sneer at our country's flag, and here's that classic like racist centrist shit, and pontificate about Palestine and Venezuela. It's like, of course, it's okay when like Mike Gapes pontificates about Venezuela, because he's saying Mike Pompeo should do a
Venezuela.
coup there. Yeah, exactly. He's saying
it's full of trots.
It would be the humanitarian position to nuke the Venezuelan trots. But like when anyone on the left is like, actually, Mike Pompeo shouldn't nuke the Venezuelan trots, that's us pontificating, whatever. And the Palestine thing is like, you know, like Labour Friends of Israel is an organisation for MPs, but I bet whatever MP this guy served as a special advisor for in the Blair government was a member of Labour Friends of Israel. So again, it's like you can pontificate about Palestine as long as you're just being like, well, you know, they do something. They throw rocks.
That makes it fine to kill their children.
They throw the improvised explosive devices that are just like that scene in MacGruber where he makes like the MacGyver style fucking like DIY bomb, and it just fizzles. That's it. And then he has to distract them by putting the celery up his arse. And then like you've got this arsehole continuing. In recent months, I have joined a few meetings of my local West London constituency Labour Party. The discussions are from a different planet. In February, a committed Marxist revolutionary activist, like somebody in the Labour Party, like, I mean, you know, I'm sure there are people in the Labour Party who identify as Marxist revolutionaries, but like by committing to you know, there's a lot of definitions of revolution, and it seems like this person would have found a way to view an engagement with electoral politics as an expression of revolutionary politics, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, this committed Marxist revolutionary activist secured more votes to be delegate at the LP's annual conference than anyone else. Like, that is how elections work. The winner has more votes than anyone else. And yeah, that's again just like, right, we can't have democracy because the wrong people win. So Keir's pitch for unity 12 months ago, I mean,
like by the time he'd won the leadership, there was no pitch for unity, let's face it. Like we're talking maybe fucking December 2019 was the last plausible pitch for unity.
Yeah, well,
January 2020 maybe.
Whenever he's fucking suspended Corbyn, really. But like, yeah, Keir's pitch for unity 12 months ago helped. Actually, no, before that. RRB and shit. Keir's pitch for unity 12 months ago helped ensure he won support from some Corbynites, and no doubt was based on a calculation that after more than a decade out of power, the party would rally around anything that made us more electable. But like, he doesn't. What about the calculation that the party would also rally around something that was broadly Corbynite in policy? That's the other part of the equation. Yeah, they did want electability, but they thought that they were getting it with, as you say,
the various Corbyn policies that poll like 65, 70, 90, 85% support from the public.
The wrong people, the wrong public, okay? Not the silent majority. But this unity, however well-intentioned, means that the party I mean, he says this unity. He's like, Keir's pitch for unity 12 months ago. That was when it was. It hasn't. The pitch for unity hasn't existed since like 12 months ago. So yeah. This unity, however well-intentioned, means that the party continues to provide a comfortable home for people and ideas that are inconsistent with the task of seeking to become a party of government. It really has not been a comfortable home for, like, you know, let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, like, say, as someone whose views are inconsistent with the task of seeking to become a party of government, I can confirm that it has not been a comfortable home in the Labour Party for the last, 12 months of blissful fucking unity. He continues, "This has to change, and the public must see it has changed if they are to allow us once more to form a government. After all, we created this mess. We now need to show we are cleaning it up."
Yes, the piss in the bath is not going to clean itself.
So what's we created this mess? Like, the Labour Party created this mess by forcing Blair to resign for that Trot Gordon Brown?
Yeah, the Labour Party created this mess presumably by losing several general elections in a row, which was the only one of those that actually had any positive momentum to it and came quite close to winning. Like, surely we should learn from that, and that would be an important step towards cleaning it up in this analogy.
Yeah. He continues, "Keir's determination to root out anti-Semites was long overdue, but the bigger, more difficult task is to find an excuse to purge the left other than anti-Semitism." No, he actually says is to root out those who block and obstruct what Labour needs to do to offer a genuine electoral alternative in the future too. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, we need to find pretext to get rid of left-wing people. Yeah. This is a huge, and involves, that is what he says, this is a huge, and involves policy, process, and cultural change. Yeah. This means being ruthless about getting the party back into some shape to win elections.
Into some of shape to win elections.
Oh, right, yeah, no, okay, he was, getting really het up by this point.
Yeah.
And that means being ruthless about getting the party back into shape to win elections. This means, appointing people like Paul Williams to, every seat in the country, even if that means losing half its membership.
Look, he means purging momentum. He probably means, purging fucking... whatever the sort of...
Compass.
Yeah, compass is what I was thinking of, yeah.
The one person, Neil Lawson, the only person in Compass. Clive Lewis is, sort of in Compass.
Purging members like John Harris for their dangerous left-wing views they express. This sort of thing, yeah.
Did you see the Noel Gallagher interview about John Harris?
Yes.
Started, "He's a cunt."
Yeah. Should have just ended it there, man. It was beautiful.
The rest of it was pretty good too. It was John Harris never got invited round my house in the 90s. He wished he was.
Yeah, he was very bitter about that.
No one I knew in the 90s hung out with John Harris. Anyway, so Ed Owen, having said that Labour, which I already reckon has lost quite a lot of members since the leadership election, should lose half its fucking membership. He then says it will require tough and determined leadership, with Keir willing to face down and take on those in the PLP and trade unions who are the cheerleaders for the rotten culture in the party. It will be uncomfortable and messy. It will dominate the airwaves in newspaper columns. I mean, of course, just more war by media is just what the Labour Party needs. That's gonna get them back on the road to recovery. But if he fails to do so, I fear that not only will his leadership be doomed, but the Labour Party itself will cease ever again to be a viable electoral force. Ends. That's actually just him shouting out the ends.
Yeah. I love the way, like, Twitter, obviously, the algorithm tends to, I think, prioritize, if it's got lots of replies, it tends to prioritize ones from, like, people you follow or people you've interacted with. But I just love reading that ridiculous rant, and then the first reply is, like, friend of the show, Trizzy Gillespie, going, ha ha ha, you mad bastard.
Yeah.
In fact, it's just all our mates saying, like, fuck off, bald, join the Tories, shut up.
Yeah, bald. I reckon this guy, he doesn't look bald in his profile picture, but I reckon actually he's combed his hair over to hide that he's balding.
He's balding, but
balding,
not necessarily more than you'd expect for his age.
Bald bastard.
He looks very much like a sort of just one of these people that either has like minor shadow cabinet positions forever and then is revealed 20 years later to have been in MI5 the whole time or something, you know.
I'm gonna cut in that clip of fucking Roger Ebert saying Gene Siskel's chatting some shite and Roger Ebert's just like bald. Bald.
Yeah, so this guy, I'm looking at his all his sort of former employers and his he's obviously worked for the Foreign Office and the UK Home Office, but the Foreign Office account he links to, which seems to be the official one, is locked and has no following and no followers.
What?
Trying to get across that
spooky.
Authentic Foreign Office shadiness.
A follow request has been sent to @Foreign Office and is pending their approval.
Congratulations on your recruitment, Jack.
Oh, man, speaking of baldness, did you see that Brian Eno is doing like not a panel, but like an in-conversation event on baldness with like some other bald guy? It's like we're all so lost since the end of Corbynism. Like Brian Eno is just like, maybe I need to look into the shiny reflective surface of my own bald head and find the answers there.
See, someone linked an old clip of like Siskel and Ebert, the old movie critics, and Siskel takes some dig at Ebert on a talk show, like just a sort of matey wind-up thing. And, Ebert just replies like, "Bald, you're bald."
That's what I was saying a second ago. Yeah, we need to put that clip in.
Yes.
Bald.
Hey, it'll be a grand gala, and congratulations. And,
grand and gala? Are you kidding me? The caterers are saying it's going to be Operation Desert Storm.
That seems unnecessarily nasty.
You laugh.
Well, yes, bald.
Keir Starmer, bald. No, what was I gonna search? Okay. So like in terms of putting like fucking Ed Bald's fucking thread into action, what people are suggesting, like the usual shady anonymous sources, seems to be that Keir Starmer needs to wield a shadow cabinet reshuffle. That's in the words of the Daily Mirror. I'll click that, but I got the Times up as well, but that's probably gonna only let me read one paragraph. Oh man, best Times article recently, fucking like Van Morrison. Free speech is dead.
Tomorrow's front pages are coming out, and the Independent has a scoop from Andrew Woodcock about a major shake-up of Labour's top team.
Oh, that's just what we're talking about. Great.
You'll never guess what's going to happen and who seems to be...
Corbyn's back. Mike Gapes is Shadow Foreign Secretary. No, it's Rachel Reeves replacing Annalisa Dodds.
Well, they've not said who's going to replace her, but she's expected to be the most high-profile victim. Who could have seen that coming? Like, let's be honest, if Starmer had won a modest amount of seats yesterday and done sort of qualified well, like... That's still going to happen within a month.
Yeah.
It's been nailed on since about a day after she was appointed. In fact, as soon as he managed to get rid of Rebecca Long Bailey, and then basically moved Rachel Reeves to mainly shadowing his shadow chancellor rather than sort of shadowing Rebecca Long Bailey.
Yeah. No, exactly. in terms of other people, well, there's one guy who's already gone. That's Khalid Mahmood, who was the defence spokesperson for the Labour Party. A shadow defence minister, because John Healey is the shadow secretary of state for the. Yeah, John Healey is bald. He is also the shadow secretary of state for defence. But Khalid Mahmood was, I guess, one of his little right-wing gang. And this guy is a proper right-wing cunt. Like, it's mad that he resigned, because he was probably going to get promoted in this reshuffle. I mean, that's just following my nose there. I don't know. But anyway, he apparently quit. Firstly, we heard that he quit, citing that the Labour Party had been taken over by a London metropolitan elite and was, like, concerned with woke shit, like tearing down Churchill statues and didn't respect our flag and our boys and our queen, etc. He wrote this whole article for like some right-wing the Policy Exchange, some right-wing think tank. And anyway, it turns out that was not his resignation announcement. He actually resigned from a front bench weeks ago for unrelated reasons. Unspecified, unrelated reasons. So, fuck knows what's going on there. I don't think we can really consider him part of this reshuffle, but still quite funny. Just mysterious, unannounced resignation.
No one cares. Like,
yeah.
It's both an indictment on him, an indictment on Starmer's Labour. Just nobody gives a shit about any of it. Who cares,
Yeah, well, there's that quote that was just like, Keir Starmer and some boring people, like, that we read out from the focus group. Yeah, so there's going to be a big shake-up in his shadow cabinet. Centrist backbencher, unnamed, coward, told the Mirror, clearly Keir needs a stronger front-of-house team, such as myself. I mean, that is the subtext of what all these fucking people... If this person's a backbencher, it's Neil Coyle. It's obviously Neil Coyle, who is wondering why he hasn't been promoted, despite being an obnoxious, gobby right-wing shithead with a head like a fucking conker. Clearly, Keir needs a stronger front-of-house team. They need a collective...
Front-of-house team?
Yeah, what the fuck is
just
that?
A fucking shit office environment for these people, isn't it?
Yeah, they're all fucking David Brent, all of them. Yeah. Surprisingly relaxed for a man in his position of responsibility or whatever. They need a collective, coherent narrative able to punch through in the very difficult circumstances of a government appearing to conquer a pandemic. But he also needs a back-of-house team, up to the job ahead, capable of running campaigns on and offline in a way Labour has dodged or failed to deliver for too long. So, I mean, what we've heard is that there's talk that people want Jenny Chapman, who's like Starmer, one of Starmer's big strategists, used to be a Labour MP until last year, 2019 rather.
Yeah.
They want her out, I don't care. All of people working for Starmer are fucking scum, and I hope all of them lose their jobs. Matt Pound, I hope he gets the boot, wanker. But that's not going to happen. People like Matt Pound, the like hardline Labour first right wing, and the hardline Blairites, are just going to consolidate their grip on Starmer because he's pissed away all his goodwill to the left, with the left at this point. So that's where he sees the game as being in the Labour Party on the right.
Yeah.
So here's what the Times says before the paywall hits. Annalise Dodds, the Shadow Chancellor, Nick Thomas-Symonds, the Shadow Home Secretary, and Emily Thornberry, the Shadow International Trade Secretary.
So he's tacking hard, right? Hang on a second.
Have been accused of failing to make an impact.
Yeah, I should be able to get the full thing up because I've
get it up.
A sneaky extension that gets me around the paywall because I just love.
Nice.
I rarely read it because it's the Times, but I just like morally stealing from them.
Oh yeah, no, I loved the Van Morrison "Free Speech is Dead in This Country" article. That was sick. Annalise Dodds, yeah, and Emily Thornberry and Nick Thomas Simmons, like. That's so funny, like, yeah, all on the soft left, and, like, Emily Thornberry, yeah, it's true, she has made, like, no impact, but on the other hand, like, how often does the Shadow International Trade Secretary make a massive impact? I mean, like, only fucking train spotters in political terms really generally know who that is, so, I mean, it's a bit harsh on Emily Thornberry, but on the other hand, she did come up with that...
Where are you finding this, by the way?
Again, I'll send it to you
Right, cool.
on Skype now. But like Emily Thornberry, I bet I just googled Keir Starmer reshuffle and I found it that way. But
got it. Right.
Yeah, but like she did come out with that ridiculous thing on her leadership campaign that was just like, oh yeah, if a leader starts polling under a certain percentage, which I'm pretty sure Keir has now,
have you seen who they're tipping to be promoted?
No, I haven't. Could you send me it and like just paste the text into?
I'm gonna read it to you because that's gonna be difficult.
Okay.
Several MPs believe that shadow cabinet ministers, such as Lisa Nandy, the shadow foreign secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, the Shadow Work and Pensions Secretary, and Bridget Phillipson, the Shadow Chief Secretary to the Treasury, should be promoted. They say the others who have performed well in more junior roles, such as Jess Phillips, Wes Streeting, Justin Madders, and Alison McGovern, should be promoted.
Who the fuck is Justin Madders?
Now, I don't know who Justin Madders is. Jonathan Reynolds is kind of
bald,
shit, but not quite as obnoxious
terrible
as
hairline.
The rest of them. Everyone else on there is just a flat-out shithead and should not be anywhere near any position of authority. Like, shouldn't even be local councillors anywhere. They're just fucking dangers and like liabilities and just extremely right-wing. I presume probably the same is true of Justin Madders because I've never heard of him and he's in that company.
Yeah.
They also believe Starmer should have a de facto shadow minister for the Today programme, a job carried out under previous leaders by Andrew Gwynn, Jonathan Ashworth, Michael Dugar, and Ian Austin.
Okay, well...
There's no shortage of absolute shitheads that can fill their role, is there?
That's mad that Labour used to send Ian Austin out to do the Today programme. Like, seriously, what an awful party.
Michael Dugar, for fuck's sake, you know.
I know, yeah, that guy as well is a total arsehole. I mean, I think Jonathan Ashworth's a bit of an arsehole. I don't have any issue with
he's better at hiding
Gwynn,
it than like an Ian Austin type most of the time, you know. Austin, you see him speak for longer than 30 seconds, he's going to make an absolute dick of himself.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, just a terrible man. But, you know, there was that piece that said that one of Starmer's favourite media surrogates is Wes Streeting, so maybe Starmer will become the shadow minister for the Today programme.
Streeting is basically, like...
loathsome.
Well, he is the Bulbasaur of Pokemon to, like, Starmer being like the evolved Venusaur version of him. Like he's just a younger version of Starmer. They fucking campaign together wearing the same suits and shit. Like,
how could anyone not despise him? I really can't comprehend how anyone could like find anything to draw them to this like despicable square-headed middle management bastard.
That's straight in paradox, isn't it? Like, nobody likes him, but he keeps failing upwards. Like, I was when was he head of NUS? Because he was the head of the NUS when I went back to university with what ended up being getting my degree, and obviously most students didn't, particularly I wasn't at an NUS university, so most students really didn't know or give a fuck about like student politics like that. Every single person who I knew who did, wherever they were politically, like, who's that cunt, you know? God, imagine having to spend any time in his company. And
exactly.
Yeah,
that's the
here
thing
we
with
are,
the Blairites.
12
though.
years
it's just
later,
a fucking
and
job creation scheme for that kind of cunt who no one likes.
Like, How
It's like Masonic kind of shit. It's just like you do the Blairite fucking handshake.
All right, man.
You know?
But like in a just world, right? Demario Nunn's discovery of his like decade-long cache of incredibly bland but also career-ending tweets should have been the end of Wes Streeting, you know?
He should never have started, man.
No,
like,
but,
I mean,
no, but
Jesus.
like, that should have been the thing to finally right that historic wrong, you know?
Well, he was just like, can I write an article about how being critical of McDonald's means that you are against McDonald's workers? And the New Statesman were like, yeah, we'll publish that. And then he put it out, and journalists were like, oh, this is a serious political crisis for Jeremy Corbyn's Labour. It's fucked up.
You know the Wes Streeting tweets that were like, Tony Blair is a war criminal?
Mm-hmm.
That's confirmed to be like Owen Jones getting hold of his phone at the time.
Oh, right.
That is a real politics scoop, I think.
Oh, wow, okay. Nice, well, good one.
Yeah. However, it didn't really get any closer to actually getting Blair indicted as a war criminal, so, you know.
You'd think that with Streeting finally, if against his will,
the real big hitters
brought onto the course, then things.
It's
things
Blair,
might finally start
Blair devoured
turning
by
around.
his own children, you know.
Yeah,
Potentially,
the jail,
literally, given some of the rumours about him.
The Jail Blair movement, of which we are all a part.
Yes.
I'm just like, I don't know how, like, FFF isn't around yet, so I'm just trying to clear some space on my computer so I don't have to, like, have an emergency stop to recording. Because, like, yeah, maybe FFF could update us on this Mike Gapes fucking thing. That's I'll delete a bunch of our past MP3 Skype recordings.
Yeah, do that. We won't need them again.
I always just worry, like, oh, what if there's some gold on there that, you know, I could put out as, like, RP bootleg series, you know?
Literally just buy another external hard drive, man.
No, I've got plenty on them, like, you just can't be asked to fucking put stuff on them. Permanently delete all these items.
The Yoda meme about him going back for more olives at 4 AM or whatever it is, but it's just you going back for more, like, Neil Young bootlegs. Why is my hard drive dying?
I've freed up a little bit of space. Now I can keep going for a bit, then I'll have to think of something else to delete. So it's like I'm in a sinking ship and I'm constantly having to keep throwing my dead shipmates overboard. It's like, I'm sorry. It was like, I guess I could have eaten parts of you and kept you on here, but yeah. That's exactly what it's like. So, what else has gone down then? There's been, so the Shadow Cabinet reshuffle. Is there anything else in that Times article about, like, what he should do?
That's all the interesting bits. It's quite a brief article, really. It's clearly just some gossip from a couple of sources.
Ah, right. Yeah. Well,
so I don't know if everyone on there is going to be true, certainly with who's going to be promoted, but I think Annalise Dodds is definitely for the chop, and I wouldn't be surprised to see at least one of Thornbury and Thomas Simmons go as well. And it will inevitably be someone to their right that replaces them, because that's how it works. God, the Times comment section is just hell, isn't it? It's just
absolute shit.